Greedy minions, how are you today? So today we're going to be talking about the map Fjords, and we're going to be going over what I have seen happen throughout this map. Now, I would like to say that I am not 100% about this map. Because of the recent changes since 1.0, it has been very difficult for me to pin down the exact flow of this map and the correct responses that you should be doing. So, Fjords is a very sided map, and what I mean by that is the east side and the west side have their corridors and their choke points, and then there is a lot of this middle ground that they just don't dare push into. And because a lot of crossfire, a lot of unknown angles, a lot of bush cover has been added to this map. It used to be that in the middle here, you used to have a lot of hills or rocks or some bush cover, and so you could kind of mess your way around this rock. Well, now that you can climb up on top of this rock, this boulder, then it's much easier for people to get spotted in this open field. It's much easier for TDs and medium tanks to sit back here and fire into these lines. These guys can stay really safe because scouts. So first, let's start with your scouts. So I would like to mention that a lot of scouts try to make it here. But I have experienced and seen that the east side gets up on this hill much easier and with less possibility of getting pinned down than the west side. So let's say you take two LTTBs, right? Equal speed, top tier. So the LTTB on the east side will make it up to this hill before this LTTB right here can make it in. And since you usually have medium tanks coming with you to fight in these areas, then this medium tank here counters anybody trying to make it in. Because this tank has to come down, stop, turn around, and go up this ramp. He now puts his ass towards his enemy. And that becomes a fatal flaw because his engine deck can be shot, he can be set on fire. The light tanks having no armor, I mean, obviously someone's probably going to load an HE shell. So you're going to have a lot of problems trying to make it to this hill. So I caution any scout that is wanting to come to this area, please poke this corner and do not commit to it. Because if you get down here and this light tank's here and he has a medium tank, you will die. You will lose. Does not matter if you have a heavy tank or a medium tank here. You will not get the support necessary. There are too many rocks here. This dude can stay perfectly safe from these shots by sitting back here, but completely keep you in his sights. So I strongly recommend stay here, please. Come up, look down, and let this guy take it if that's the case. You guys can always work him down. At this point, you want to proxy spot him because you'll definitely have TDs sitting back here, and they can start popping this dude off and keep him pinned down. So please, just stay safe. Keep your head about you. Now, a lot of times I will see scout tanks follow into this path and then roll up and then come up here. This is not entirely a bad idea, but it is completely countered by this position. There's too many gaps and too many holes that you can be seen from the top of this hill, because if this guy makes it up, he's going to try to get all the way up to this tower that's right here. Okay, and if he gets up here, he can see everything. He can stay safe. He can protect himself from all the fire from here. This is too high for anybody even back here to shoot up at him, and he plays pretty heavily fortified, quote unquote. And you being in this position is just, he's going to light you and these guys are going to get shots on you. So be very careful. If this is taken, do not try to push into here because you're going to box yourself in, or you're going to put yourself into a position where you're trying to stay out of line of shot and out of sight, and you can't cut back across this open field without getting peppered by these guys. So just be very careful. Now, inversely on this side, if you have someone that has taken this position, it is okay to run up this line, but remember that these are all trees that are through here, some bushes, there will be gaps in here that will allow you to be spotted by these TDs, and there are a few rock formations like this guy and this guy. These things are almost not big enough to cover your tank. I mean, like maybe the pancaked light tank 100, I can do it, but these things are you sit up too high sometimes. So watch yourself. It's not enough hard cover. You might be able to get 1 or 2 shots to hit it, but I would not just sit here and try to shoot out. I forgot to put Artie on the map, but But anyways, so one thing that you need to worry about is getting shot by these TDs. So these TDs are pretty much so what controls most of this game. So I'd like to explain that by this. So the east side only has this choke point here and whatever they can field in here, which means trying to fight for this choke point, okay, and this down here. So that being said, since these guys have an area that they can set up, some hard cover, a lot of soft cover, i.e. bushes and whatnot, all they have to do is roll back and let someone else get spotted, and these guys can shoot up into this hill, right? So you have kind of another hill. I wish I could show you more detailed, but the road winds around 2 hills, right? And these outcroppings that come straight down. So you can kind of tuck yourself back in here, but you're limiting your field of fire, right? These guys have a huge field of fire and control a lot of this field from this position. So once again, why you don't want to be in this area right here. So let's say you've got some Scorpion G's sitting back here. These things are going to hurt like hell. So, I mean, 2 of them, a pair of them will one-shot any light tank. I mean, they can just combo you. So be very cautious when pushing on this road as a light or as a medium tank. The east side has to play the north much slower than the west side does. So the west side can actually run up and get into here with no fear of being shot at except for maybe here. Like, because this is another TD position. Well, this TD position can kind of get shots over into here, but they don't have any direct line of fire to these TDs here. Like, so if they're up against this mountain, then these guys aren't going to be able to shoot over this horn and be able to hit them. So you have to watch out for that. But these medium tanks can push up. Now, the advantage that the east side has in the north, especially against these mediums, is that they have hills. So American and British tanks are going to excel up here. Use your fantastic armor or your turret armor and your gun depression to be able to get your guns down on them. That being said, if you are trying to push into this location, then you need to force them back behind these hills. That way you can utilize the hills at the same time. So it's very risky when you do this because you are cutting yourself off and these TDs no longer can get shots up here. If you recognize that you are even numbered, so they have 3 mediums and you have 3 mediums, it might be a better idea to sit down in here and try to use this hill from any shots that this light tank will try to shoot at you. And what you're going to want to do is let your TDs do all the work, right? Just keep firing up this line. And then once these guys get whittled down and all of a sudden you're down to 2 medium tanks and you still have 3, that's when you want to go in. You have physically more guns than they do. So, which a lot of times these guys are going to cower behind these rocks within reason. Now, one thing I do want to note is that if you are in this position up in here, then your draw box ends right here and your spot range ends like somewhere in here. Okay, so how is that important? That means that you can freely sit up here, and if there's no one here, that can run up and spot you because it goes to a hill and then flats out up in here. Then you can freely hit these TDs if they're lit. This position can counter anything that comes through here. Done it many times, just sat up here and just kept putting shots out, farmed these guys, whittled them down, and then pushed through this group of mediums. Okay, and that is how you have to do that. They have to overexpose themselves for you to be able to push. If you recklessly push, you are rolling yourself right into a wall of firepower, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad. I have seen people try to sneak their way down like this and get behind here. It is possible to do it. I have done it, but the problem is they notice any of these trees get knocked down. They're going to start pumping in shots. You get spotted, you are broadside to these guys, and there is nothing you can do about it. So, let's flip over to the heavy tanks. So, heavies are pretty much going to brawl it out right in here. Now, the heavy tanks are going to have this really weird, awkward angle of a fight because you don't really have anything to side scrape off of, and you guys are trying to shoot at 90-degree angles, essentially, especially these guys. These guys have to turn to get their guns and shoot at these guys. So the advantage for east side is that they will have TDs sit up here, right? There'll be TDs all along this. And these guys can pump shots straight into them. But the problem is that they have to roll back in order to allow these guys to come in. Okay? And a lot of players will not, and they'll sit there and go, well, we see the enemy right here. We have to stop them. Instead of giving them ground so they can walk into your TD fire, a lot of times players won't do that. This position can also shoot in here, but it's got to shoot over top some of these buildings, and that gets very difficult at times. So just try to remember, if you're playing down here with the heavies, it is going to be a very patience game. You're relatively arty safe unless arty takes up like a position over here, in which case they can definitely hit this area, which I have seen arty do. Arty has pretty much so this entire back area for west side, so watch out if you are east side. And these positions, like if they're sitting here, they can dunk some shots right in here, but as soon as the heavies get around this corner like this, there is nowhere on the east side that the artillery can fire into. So another heavy spot is sitting at this corner right here, or taking this corner. Now, these are just more of you cannot pass areas. These are areas that you are trying to make sure that the enemy doesn't just run down, right? And you're just blocking off a corridor. 1 or 2 tanks can hold this easily, especially if you have a medium here and a heavy here. Heavy can pump shots at anybody that tries to cross through this little pond area, and anybody that tries to run this corner. So it also holds down this entrance for your light tank. That way your light tank can stop focusing on, is someone going to run up the ramp behind me? Do I need to stay there and guard my own ramp? No, I don't. Awesome. Fantastic. Let me focus on spotting, and my medium tank's got me covered, right? And I just keep an eye on the mini map, make sure that no one's up that ramp, in which case we can pincer them. And so it becomes very necessary that these tanks are here. I do not recommend putting 3 guys there. There's no point. You just need 1, maybe 2, to hold this area. Because, even if there's 1 heavy tank sitting right here, any tank that tries to push through here, he has a superior position, especially if he's side scraping. And this dude's going to lose a lot of HP trying to trundle through here. So, just heads up on that. So let's see here. Medium tanks are going to make or break this entire map, because if the medium tanks here get through, and let's say they get pushed up into this area, they can push down, they can flank these TDs, they can shoot at these TDs, they can get all the way down in here and use these covers, these buildings here as cover, and they can start opening up on arty, and it becomes such a hassle for the enemy to be able to deal with, because I can roll right up here and then start taking out this TD, and there's nothing they can really do. So that's why it's very important for the east side to slow play this up here, because all you're wanting to do is just whittle these guys down, especially down here, and just try to let your scouts do the spotting, fire out, get whatever safe shots you can, and just do not let these guys roll up, because they'll get into these little pockets like this, and if you've got a good enough gun depression on it, on your tank, and a decent enough turret, you can keep these guys here, and if they push, then they're just going to go into the meat grinder. So just remember that. So if these guys are stupid and they run into your line of fire and you grind them away, right? So you take this guy out and this guy out, then you can push down and around, because there's not really going to be anything that spots you, especially if this light tank's not here. And you can push in, and once you get in back here, there is very little red team can do. So west side can do, because these guys will run down and try to stop you, but you're already on top of them, and you have superior mobility than most TDs, and you are going to be able to stay on top of these guys and keep your gun live and just outmaneuver them. TD dance with these guys. I mean, get right behind them. I mean, don't let them turn around if they're a turretless TD. On top of it, you're just going to sit there and sack Artie. Artie's not going to be able to do anything, and once you get to this back line, it is very much so over for West Side, because you crumble their entire pocket up here, and you can start applying pressure if you get down in here on this. So let's say your heavies are still brawling it out and you've broken through, wiped out this TD line, and you guys are stomping pretty hard, then down in here is where you're going to want to start applying pressure. Don't be stupid. You have their base, you have them cornered, you have control of the situation. Crush them. But don't just rush at them, because if you rush at them, you might throw away your tank. And if you throw away your tank, you might literally be the linchpin in your team's victory. You guys can crush this entire area, but these heavies finally come up, recognize what's going on, these guys are dead, and you get killed, they take back their base, push back, and all of your little one-shot buddies just start getting plinked off one by one. So just once you have their base, you have control of the game. Just take your time. Don't play with them, but just safely destroy them, because you can throw away a lead very quickly. So, I would like to play out a scenario. What happens if green does not, well, east side does not take this hill? And let's say their light tank goes here, because I've seen light tanks do this, and you were able to get up in here. You first need to worry about this, and you need to make sure that you have a medium with you. Because if this medium can hold down this area, if this medium tries to run up and go, hey, buddy, you're not supposed to be up there, then he's going to come in with him. Right, he'll get up here, he'll be here, you'll be here. Sure, you'll take a little bit of TD fire, or take a little bit of fire from the medium, but you'll be able to knock this guy off. So just make sure that you've got a battle buddy with you, and then once you get to the top of this hill, you become a very, very powerful asset for helping take care of these guys, because your spot range will be close enough to be able to hit anybody that tries to push through. But this area right here has enough elevation to be able to shoot you up here. So please be careful if you do take this hill, that you are not just being blind that there are TDs sitting behind these trees, and you are not going to be able to spot these guys. There is too much cover, and there's too much just canopy foliage. So just watch out for that. You get spotted, you need to roll back to here, okay, where you're safe. Now, let's see here. Anything else with this map? Yeah, just slow play it as much as you can. Remember, try to utilize your hills back here. If, let's say, the medium tanks do make it up here, then... Ooh, those are heavies, whatever. Let's say the tanks do make it up here. Try to fight them at the ridges, right? And just keep pushing them back or fall back as much as you can to draw them out. Because remember, if these guys just decide to jump over a hill, right, then you're going to have shots on lower plates. You're going to have shots on the side of their tank if they're doing it very stupidly. So remember that it is very, very, very dangerous for you to try to go over a hill instead of going around it, because if you go down, wait for this tank to shoot, you can run up to this hill that jets out right here, and when they shoot again or miss, you can then get up in here, and then you can finally push these guys back, and once you take this corner, you have all the cover. They do not, right? They have nothing really here. Now, I would like to mention that there is kind of a little river pond bed right in here that you can run through and then get cover, and there's some rock formations, but it is that is good if you're trying to work in tandem with another person and you guys are both low HP. And like I had a scenario where there was a Skoda 50-51 right up here, and I ended up taking river while another ally took this, and the Skoda took a shot at him, so he backed down, and I just rolled the corner and shot. Once he looked at me, he jumped over, and we just basically just kept playing peekaboo with the dude, and he had to eventually just focus at one of us. Well, which case happened is we got 2 shots in before he could get 2 shots out, because he was switching between targets. So remember, there is some cover in here, and then once you pincer these guys off and just knock them out, and then you have free reign of all this. There is a little path that leads to the base like this. If necessary, use this, but remember that like if a TD is smart, he might come down here, and when you come over here, he might roll up behind you. So there is a little path right in here that can mess with you. So pretty much that's all I've got for it right now. I'm sure you guys are going to have loads of questions tonight. Just keep asking them. We can keep going over them. If you guys, other viewers that are non-MIT, feel free to leave comments down below. Like I said, I am not professional with this map. It's got so many changes, and I'm still not used to it. So if you have any tips or tricks to get around this map, I would love to hear them. So thank you very much, guys.